Hey, what's up guys, Metal571 here, and today we're going to be looking at the Fostex TH-X00 headphones. So what is this? This is a semi-open, now it's not completely closed back, we'll get to that in a bit, Fostex biodynamic driver headphone. And it's designed for audiophile listening, not really for pro use. So I wouldn't recommend this as a reference headphone anyway, and again we'll get into that in the sound section as we always do. So this is the Ebony version that comes in mahogany, ebony, and purple heart cups. I would definitely recommend the mahogany or the ebony over the purple heart. Well, mainly because the purple heart just doesn't sound the same. And Massdrop has a bit of a frequency response there for you for the three types. You can see the ebony and mahogany are more similar than different. And the purple heart is just wacky in that it's very bassy, very, very bassy. These are bassy headphones, and we'll talk about that. But purple heart is a little excessive compared to these. So I would get the ebony if possible, and the mahogany is the easiest one to find. So you'll probably end up with that one if you buy these. And you should buy with confidence, and we'll talk about why. Comfort. Alright, so comfort on these, really good. Never really had a problem wearing these over a long period. Mainly, but you still are going to have the usual, leather ear pad problems here. If your ears sweat a lot, they're going to get a little sticky. But look at how much, it's beautiful. It's very soft leather. You're not going to have a problem with that. The headband, though, is lacking a little bit of... it's lacking a bit of padding. It should have a little bit more than it does. So keep that in mind if you're sensitive to padding on the headband. It doesn't have a problem. It doesn't have a problem with me, clearly, but just something to keep in mind because there's a little light on padding there. It's pretty well constructed. Lots of metal in the use. Obviously, it's kind of weighty because it's using real wood. This is not fake. And so it does exert a bit of pressure on you, but the clamp is not it's not a lot. And it doesn't weigh as much as like an Odyssey, like the LCD3 I reviewed, so you won't have a problem there. The thing that irks me a bit about the build quality is this cable. This cable could have been thinner, easier to deal with, but it's kind of thick and annoying. So you end up, coiling this thing around and kind of having to store it like that, unfortunately. But at least they give you a nice 1/4-inch ending that's just like, I feel like is going to survive some kind of nuclear explosion or something. This thing is just incredibly solid, so you won't have an issue with that. But the cable itself is a bit unwieldy, so keep that in mind, and it's not removable, so that's a downside. Now, enough about the build quality and comfort. I know you guys want to hear about the sound. What does it sound like? The bass first. Wow. I'm going to pause here for a second. Wow. The bass is amazing on this headphone. And amazing in both, it's elevated, I'm not going to lie. This is definitely a bass head's delight kind of a headphone. It extends way low, straight down to 20 hertz and below. No problem there. If you like bass, this is the headphone to get probably in this price range. It's really big is what I have written down. It's big bass, really well extended, doesn't really bleed into the mids. It's fantastic. For the price range and in general, it's awesome. Totally love this thing. And if you are more of a flat kind of headphone guy, this is definitely a warm tilted entry, I think, by anybody's definition of that. And it's something to keep in mind. But, it's clean, fast, very, very sharp dynamics, powerful. All of these things describe the bass in this headphone. Now, the mid-range here is very smooth, liquidy, a little on the recessed side, just a bit though. Didn't bother me. Kind of has I don't know if I want to draw this analogy. Maybe I will. The A900X in this thing kind of have the same kind of mid-range recession. The A900X more so, and also not as detailed or fast, but they both have a relaxed mid-range. I am wearing the A900X, by the way, if you're wondering about that. Yes, I still have it. I still like it. but the mids don't seem to have any big tonality problems. Again, they're still down tilted, as I said, but they're really smoothly integrated into the bass, and it's hard to find this on headphones in general. So you get this really nice, big, smooth, and the frequency response really measures like that too. This like smooth down tilt going all the way through the mids, and it's just gloriously lush and warm, just super warm. It's as comfortable as your fireplace in the winter. I love it. It's fantastic, but it's also liquidy, smooth, and quick. So if you're a metalhead, awesome guitars here. And if you're an EDM head, awesome bass here. It just fits so many modern genres so well. So that's what the mids and the bass are like, which are great. Now the treble is mostly without a big deal. It continues this smooth down tilt, but to me it sounds like there's a bit of a peak that happens real narrow at about 10K or so. So you'll see in my EQ profile in the description as usual, I removed that by about 40 dB, and the results were fine. Now, you won't always need to do that. I think only for certain genres. Electronic was very bright sometimes with these. I know it's weird for me to say that, but basically there's this really long down tilt, and they measure like this too. I don't think it's just psychological by looking at the graphs of this thing, but there's this really long down tilt, and then there's a bit of this hump, this peak, this really narrow peak in the mid treble that is just a spike there, but it doesn't make it sound like a DT770 at all. It's just a little bit of presence there that's added. Now the air above that peak is a little dead, to be honest, in my opinion, and it's not as smooth a treble representation, I would say, as the 650, which is very laid back as well, but has a little bit more definition than this. Now that's not to say it's bad. It's just, there's this smooth down tilt, and then there's a little peak at 10K. So that's basically the overall sound signature you're getting here. And I just have to say it works so well with most modern music. So something to keep in mind here with the isolation, though. This is marketed as a closed back, but it's really kind of like a semi-open. It's a closed back that's a little bit open. And so the treble leaks through a lot, and the mids get muffled when you put these on. So not something, now this is sad, because I wouldn't, that I would have replaced my office headphone with this. I'll tell you that much. But I couldn't, because it just doesn't isolate enough. So it's a really weird downside, because they look closed, but really I believe the vents are in here between the wood cup and where it meets the plastic of the rest of the ear cup. So there's a vent there, and that's what's leaking. If you cover it up with your hands, you can kind of hear the difference. I was playing with that at one point. So you won't be able to use this at the office really if it's a relatively quiet area. Don't use it at the library. Don't buy this headphone. Do not buy this headphone expecting a lot of isolation. It just doesn't have a ton. The soundstage is also awesome. I'm not, let's be honest here, I'm not great at describing soundstage, but for a closed back, it's got the width, it's got some imaging. I like it. I mean, obviously not as wide as an 800. I think it's on par with most closed backs, or actually better, because it is a semi-open after all, in the price range. So no complaints. That's all I'll say about the soundstage. No complaints. I'm gonna add a new category in here. You guys tell me if you like this. I'm gonna talk about genre pairing for a second. Like I said, this is really great with electronic music, hip hop. Oh, so awesome. But I feel like with some other genres that are more masterfully mixed and mastered, they're gonna sound kind of dull, which is why I would say this is definitely not the kind of headphone you would want to use as a reference in a studio. I would stay away from it for that. This is really a listening enjoyment headphone, 100%. And as a result, really picky classical, music listeners, I'm not so sure you're going to have a great time with this. I would get like a K701 or something for that. So let me know if you like that category. I'm going to keep putting that in videos, I think, because I think it's a great way to continue to help describe what the sound of these is good for. And here's another quick note that I should be talking about in more reviews, but haven't, which is amp needed. Is an amp needed with these? I would say a low power amp is needed. Now they'll get, you know, to some volume on a phone, and they run super loud from my stack of the Modi 2 Uber now and the Magni 2 Uber, like super loud. You blow your ears apart and destroy these things with the stack. So, you know, not too hard to drive, but you might need a low power amp for them. So, in conclusion here, so what I wrote down in my notes, I'm just going to simply tell you, this is the #1 headphone I recommend to somebody who can spend about $299 used, $399 new on a headphone starting out in this hobby. Absolutely. And why is that? That is because I listen to a lot of entry-level stuff lately, and so I have this thought that people are probably used to a much warmer sound than most audiophile open backs and over ears are going to provide, and this is a good way to ease them into the audiophile world without, you know, destroying their ears with the crazy treble of references like the HD800 and stuff like that, or the DT990. Oh boy. So absolutely fantastic job with this one, Fostex and Massdrop. You really kicked it out of the park here for really fun, warm, not gooey in a sense of slow, but gooey and yummy and liquidy in a sense of quick, light and quick, but just warm, tilted. I've never heard anything like this, to be honest. It's definitely something new. But yeah, consumers, I would say buy with confidence, absolutely. And if you guys know me, you know I'm really picky about sound, and it's tough for me to say I really like a headphone and this one doesn't need much EQ at all. But this is it right here, guys. So there you go. That's the Fostex TH-X00. Awesome job, Massdrop and Fostex. You can grab them on Massdrop for about $3.99, I think, on most drops because they're so popular, and they're so popular for a reason. It's because they're good. So enjoy, guys. As usual, follow me on Twitter, comment, like if you like the video, and I'll see you in the next one very soon.